Hello and welcome back to another video. This is the 9th episode of story in which before his death, Minato had created a tool that was meant to succeed the Hiraishin. But now that he's passed it on to his kid, what will Naruto do with the power to control time and space? Please smash the like and subscribe buttons. Let's get started. You're going to take me back there now, demanded Sasuke angrily as he gripped Naruto's shirt even tighter. I have to stop the massacre from ever happening. Sasuke-kun, please calm down, as Hinata tried to defuse the situation. Shut up. This doesn't concern you. Instantly Naruto became dead serious as he didn't like the tone the emo Uchiha was giving his pale friend. However, he maintained his cool as he tried not to revert to habit of wanting to knock someone out for being a prick. So taking a deep breath, I don't know what you're talking about, as he tried to feign ignorance. Don't you dare give me that, Sasuke growled as his rage began to grow. Do you think I'm an idiot? I've been listening and I've been watching what you've been doing this past week. That watch of yours has the power to time travel, doesn't it? I need its power to save my clan, as his grip tightened even more. Sasuke-kun, you don't understand. Please calm down and let Naruto-kun go. I said stay out of this, he spat out as the young Uchiha was seeing red. For a moment, Naruto kept silent, looking to his friend and teammate before speaking up again. He saw no point in keeping up this facade as Sasuke was adamant with his beliefs of what he had. Furthermore, if he lied, Sasuke was more than likely going to try something really reckless which could have resulted in one of them getting really hurt. So, for what you're asking, I cannot help you. What? As his tone leaked out venomously. You don't understand. What you're asking can't be done. You're just trying to keep that power all to yourself, aren't you? As Sasuke now seemed ready to get really aggressive. If you won't use your watch to help me, then I'll just take it from you. There is no need for violence, said Hinata as she continued in wanting to end this matter peacefully. I said stay out of this, as Sasuke's Sharingan began to appear as he readied himself to attack. Reacting instantly, the Hyuga heiress placed her hand on Sasuke's shoulder, pinching a nerve ending just above his collarbone. Almost immediately, the young Uchiha started to feel woozy as his eyes rolled back into his head. Then in the next moment, he fell to the ground like a sack of potatoes as he now lay unconscious on the ground. Looking to what his pale friend had done. Did you just use the Hyuga nerve pinch on him? He wouldn't calm down, plus he was acting irrational. Staring to the unconscious body on the ground, Naruto gave a tired sigh as he created a bunshin to help him move Sasuke to the couch. This is not going to be a pleasant conversation when he wakes up. What are you going to do? Hinata asked worriedly, both in concern for her friend and experience when it came to time travel. The best I can, I guess, as the pair waited until Sasuke woke up again. Konoha, prison ward, doing his rounds. Zabuza looked rather bored as he continued to clang his sword against the bars as he walked by. Man, this is boring, maybe I should free a prisoner or two so I can have the excuse to kill them, which instantly got some of the inmates pissed scared. That won't be necessary, said Shikamaru, giving a yawn as he walked in, looking the same as he always did but now with a Chunin vest. I'll be taking your shift so you can go on break. Tisk, fine, as he walked by, now leaving to go do whatever he wanted with his free time. Watching the scary mist ninja leave, Shikamaru spotted a particular cell as he removed a shogi board from his vest before placing it right outside the bars as the dirty blonde-haired inmate scooted close. Well, let's have our game then, as he moved first. Maneuvering her chained wrists so that she could slip one of her hands right outside the bars, Temari then moved as well. You know you don't have to do this, she said solemnly as soon Gaara and Kankuro scooted behind their elder sister to watch the game. Well, it's no big deal. It's part of the probation for new Chunin to do guard duty anyways. Boring as it is, I don't have to do much here, and you're at least one of the few people who'll play shogi with me without chickening out. Well, I'm honored, as Temari gave a strained chuckle. By the way, I heard from that Sakura girl that Konoha is currently in debate with Suna, said Kankuro. Do you know what's going on with that? Yeah, it's making some progress, said Shikamaru as he continued playing, maintaining his focus on the board. It seems Jiraiya-sama, our new Hokage, is talking it over with your village. Surprisingly, as much damage as you guys did, it seems we're still keeping you on as allies, as we're even talking about plans of sharing our resources with you guys, but under certain conditions, of course. The Sand siblings became wide-eyed to this news. Considering their betrayal, it surprised them they weren't executed right off the bat. Furthermore, even after their capture they were being treated humanely, as now even after failure that their village was getting the resources that they so badly needed. Although to some it may have seemed like weakness by performing such acts of charity. But in truth it was a show of benevolence. It was easy to be petty in any situation. However, it took real strength to be forgiving to those who wronged you. What about our stay here? That's still a toss-up. All you can do is just cross your fingers on that 1 inch. Remaining silent for a while longer, will they be coming here? Asked Gaara softly as he leaned against the wall as he continued to watch the game. Sensing who he was asking about, both of them share the same days this week, but they should be here tomorrow, Shikamaru answered. Giving an understanding nod, the Sand Jinchuriki continued to watch the game his sister was playing. On Naruto's first shift, he was a regular chatterbox as he wouldn't stop talking the entire time he was there. But to who he was talking to, it was none other than Gaara. During the entire time he stayed, he related to him about his past, yet also gave him hope that like him, regardless of who he was, he would eventually find people in this world that would accept him for who he was. Even that girl Hinata talked to him as she assisted him in mending the broken bonds he had with his siblings as they talked it out. It was amazing, really. In such a short time, an instant bond was formed, as this was the first time in his life he felt like he truly connected with someone who wasn't afraid of him. On a closing note, if he ever got out, they wanted him to join them for a bowl of ramen. Yeah. I'll be looking forward to that, he said under his breath as Shikamaru and Temari continued their game. Namikaze's residence. What happened? Sasuke asked, feeling groggy as he held his head while sitting up on the couch. I'm sorry, Sasuke-kun, Hinata apologized, bowing her head a bit. But you just wouldn't calm down. You fell flat on your face there, Naruto chuckled. But don't feel bad, as that same thing happened to me when Hinata-chan practiced it on me, which caused the Hyuga heiress to seem bashful to this. I don't want to hear your stupid jokes. Sasuke then shot out, only to hold his head at the migraine he felt. Sensing how adamant he was, it was clear there would be no weaseling out of this one, as the pair readied themselves for the trouble they were about to get into. It's impossible to change the past because of the nature of the fact is that it's already happened. What? Sasuke-kun, then continued Hinata. It's the logic of the universe. This very point is what defines who you are as a person, and because things happened the way it did, it became the primary building block for everything else preceding it, including the desire to travel back to save them. This being fact, everything becomes negated as if nothing ever happened. Then how would you know? Because we've already tried, as the pair looked down sadly to this, you can't change what happened, as that's all there simply is to it. Sasuke closely analyzed the two as he sensed no lie behind their words. In hearing this, the young Uchiha gritted his teeth in frustration at seeing his chance to fix everything just slip away. But of all else, if he couldn't change what happened, then there was one thing he could still do. Then just take me back there. What? Didn't we already tell you? I heard what you said. Sasuke sharply interjected. But taking a deep breath to calm himself down, then please, swallowing his ego a bit. Take me back 7 years ago, before my brother killed our entire clan. If anything. I want to understand why he did it, as his eyes then clamped shut as he bowed his head to them. Naruto and Hinata looked to each other as they both could tell the torment he felt. However, at hearing his request, they wondered if it was a good idea to allow him to do this. In one part, if after their warning there was a good chance he'd try to change what happened, which would have been disastrous for everyone. But in a way, learning the truth might give him some sense of peace. But then sometimes, the truth is not always that great to hear. Knowing the kind of ambition Sasuke had, he would not take no for an answer. Upon refusal, he would do something drastic to get what he wanted. So to avoid this inevitability, listen up jerk, as Naruto now stood before his friend. You swear to me right now that you won't do anything under any circumstance, as you'll only be there to observe. Yes, I know. That isn't good enough, as the blonde narrowed his eyes at him. You promise not only to me but also on the name of Uchiha that no matter what happens you do not interfere with the series of events that will occur. Sasuke's expression scrunched at this before giving a nod. Yes. I promise on my clan's name that no matter what, I will not interfere. Naruto held his ground, keeping silent for a moment before turning about to face Hinata. We're going to need some good eyes, as we don't want to bump into anything we shouldn't. Hinata-chan, if you may. Of course Naruto-kun, as she stood up with her friend as Sasuke stood up as well, standing next to them. Pulling out his watch, Naruto closed his eyes, focusing his senjutsu just enough to power the watch. Due to the nature of Sage Chakra being denser than normal chakra, it took less out of his normal reserves to power it. Dad also installed capacitors into the watch, allowing me to store chakra inside so that it would be less of a strain on me. I'll just load it up enough in order to make a few trips. Reaching the quantity he wanted, they were ready to go. So getting into contact, a bubble of light surrounded them as they were soon gone in a flash. Konoha, 7 years ago, appearing on the rooftops, the three rematerialized as they looked around to see that it was clearly nighttime, and making their way down below they confirmed that they were indeed 7 years in the past, a few days before the Uchiha massacre. But looking over the date, the young Uchiha knew exactly what this day meant. I know where my brother is, as he soon ran off in the direction closely followed by Naruto and Hinata. Exiting the village, they continued to run until they arrived to what appeared to be a river. What's going on, Sasuke? What's supposed to be happening here? Naruto asked. This is where Shusui died. It is here we'll know what treachery my brother has committed. Sasuke slightly grimaced as one of his eyes twitched a bit. Just as the young Uchiha was about to walk in, remember your promise, said Naruto as he gripped his shoulder. Only watching, nothing more. Yeah, I got it, as he ripped himself from him, to which the trio then proceeded in. Not too far away, they arrived to a clearing as they saw Itachi and Shusui talking to each other casually. Something doesn't seem right. I don't sense any ill intent. But this is the day Shusui is supposed to die. We can't read their lips with their backs turned like that, plus they're too far for us to see. We can't get any closer or they'll spot us, said Naruto. Hinata-chan, looking to her. I understand, said Hinata as she activated her Byakugan as she followed along the best she could to what the two young men were discussing. There is no way to stop the Uchiha coup d'état anymore, said Shusui regretfully. A civil war will happen in the Leaf and other countries will take advantage to attack. It will inevitably turn into another world war. Itachi remained in silent shock as he continued to listen to his friend. When I tried to stop it by using my Kodo Amatsukami, Danzo stole my right eye, as he turned to reveal the stream of blood emanating from the missing socket. He's bent in solving it his own way. That's why I've decided to protect the village in my own way. He then turned facing his longtime friend, placing his left hand over his remaining eye ready to gouge it out. He'll try to retrieve my left eye. But before that happens I'll give it to you. Shusui. Itachi said as a slight frown started to form. You're my best friend and the only one I can ask this. Please protect the village. And the Uchiha name, as he then handed over his eye to Itachi. With his final task done, Shusui began to step back as he reached the ledge of the cliff. Removing any sense of self-preservation, dropped into the river below, allowing himself to drown. Watching this happen, tears appeared in Itachi's eyes as slowly his Sharingan appeared as the Tomo began to reconfigure itself into what would become his Mangekyo eyes. Seeing enough, the trio soon left baffled and confused, as this raised more questions than it did answers. He used genjutsu. It had to be, said Sasuke as he tried to rationalize what he saw. He made him commit suicide. There is no other way to explain this. Naruto, who was just as perplexed, didn't understand what he saw. He then looked to Hinata as she had an uneasy and somewhat disturbed expression written on her face. Hinata-chan, I'm sorry for making you see that. Hinata shook her head to this as she clasped her hands together as if trying to gain some bearing on something. Naruto-kun. I need to tell you something. It's what they talked about. His ears perking up to it. What did they say? Sasuke asked, turning his attention to the Hyuga heiress. Wincing a bit under his glare, Hinata looked away in thought before looking back. They said. Exactly what you thought. Shusui-kun was trying to convince Itachi-kun from his plans. But failed, and that's when it happened, as remembering the man die was somewhat disturbing. Sasuke narrowed his eyes at this as he knew something was off, as he sensed deception. Although his gut felt the lie, he refused to believe otherwise, that his brother deserved what was going to be coming next, as he soon departed, brooding a bit. Watching him leave, Naruto looked to Hinata as he knew that was a lie. She hadn't acted jittery for many years, and the only reason she did was when she was lying, which made her a terrible liar. So taking her hand, he led them back to their temporary base of an used isolated apartment as they went inside unnoticed. Seating Hinata on a chair, Naruto took his seat across from her, slightly slouched as he folded his hands on his lap. What's going on, Hinata-chan? What did they really say? Hinata shifted uncomfortably as she was hesitant if she should share this information. If it were true, the ramifications would be enormous, as there is no telling how this would affect the village. In a way, she could see why the truth was covered up. But was this something she could openly share? But after feeling more tension about this, she knew she could confide in what she saw to Naruto. I don't know everything. But from what I've heard, this is what's happening, as she disclosed to her friend what she heard. Konoha, sometime later, using the vacant apartment as a temporary base, Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke continued to monitor the situation that was going on in Konoha, only skipping ahead to quickly progress through the events without waiting. Although on the surface everything seemed all well enough, deeper investigation showed growing tensions amongst the Uchiha clan and the Konoha elders. As Sasuke watched his former home, Naruto and Hinata watched the Hokage office, as this arrangement was due to their familiarity with the area. As they watched, Naruto and Hinata could only feel so much tension weigh heavily on their hearts, as piece by piece everything started to come together about what truly happened the night Itachi killed his entire clan. It was just too sad that something like this happened, but even more so that they were keeping Sasuke in the dark about this. Of course, to protect him from the truth, they could have just forced him back to their time. But that would only make him suspicious, as all they could do was hide it as much as they could. But as the young Uchiha continued to investigate, his confusion soon rivaled his rage. Although some pieces fitted perfectly with what he was told and his notions of things, there were other events that didn't make any sense, as they were conflicting with what he thought to be true. However, it was this day that the puzzle would come together, as then he would see for his own eyes the ugly truth, the truth that should have remained buried. During the course of the day, Sasuke tailed his brother as he watched every move he made and tried to listen to every conversation he had. But after finishing his meeting with the elders of Konoha, he then exited the building as Danzo soon approached him. The third talked like that, but he will act if Konoha still needs to be protected. That's the way he is, said Danzo. If that happens, even he, as the Hokage, will have to take drastic measures. Whether the war happens or not, once they try to rebel, the Uchiha clan will necessarily be annihilated. Your unknowing little brother included. But by acting before it happens, he can be saved. Itachi's eyes flinched for a microsecond at the mention of his brother in that manner. If the coup happens, your brother will see everything anyways. He will see his clan destroyed by Konoha and will unmistakably want to get revenge on the village, and in that case will have to be killed too. Are you threatening him? No, I want you to choose. You can either stand on the side of your clan and be destroyed altogether, or stand on Konoha's side, saving your little brother before the coup happens, and help destroy the Uchiha clan. To protect the village we must absolutely stop the coup before everything falls into chaos, and the only one capable to do this task is you, Itachi. It will be a hard mission for you, but in exchange for that I can let your little brother live. I'm sure you too want to protect the village. Do you accept this mission? Itachi, looking to the man before him, closed his eyes, giving a nod as he soon turned to leave. Witnessing this event, Sasuke was at a loss for words. This can't be true. Itachi was ordered to kill our clan by Konoha, as his eyes were stretched open in shock. Now he didn't know what to think. If this was true, then what has he been doing this entire time? What was the point to all his hatred? What was it that he was trying to accomplish? But that's when his thoughts went back to Naruto and Hinata, as now he needed to confirm his suspicions. During this little lookout, he could tell they were keeping something from him, something important that he needed to know. The final piece to this mystery that will tell him once and for all what really happened 7 years ago. If they refused to tell him, he planned to get it one way or another, as 2 days from now would be the day his brother destroyed their clan. Konoha. 2 days later, going over their notes, the trio continued to discuss everything they had learned and trying to figure out why Itachi did the things he did. But after reaching a certain point in their discussion, Naruto's stomach began to grumble. "Man, I'm hungry," the blonde grumbled. "This takeout food is not really good." "Well, we can go out to eat then, as long as we use a henge," suggested Hinata. "Yeah. Let's do that. Aren't you the one saying we shouldn't interfere with the past? So we shouldn't be eating out at all, moron. So just go get some takeout already," said Sasuke as he continued to read over the notes. "Well, I guess you're right," as he stood up. "Hey, Hinata-chan, want to come with me?" "I still need her here," Sasuke then said. "I still need to compare a few more notes." "It's okay, Naruto-kun," as Hinata gave a small smile. "Just hurry back, okay?" "All right, Hinata-chan," said Naruto as he was soon off. Watching him leave, the pair returned back to their notes. But after a short while, Sasuke then spoke up. "When we arrived here, can you tell me again what Shusui and my brother talked about?" "It was as I told you, Sasuke-kun. Shusui-kun tried to talk Itachi-kun out of his plans, but then Genjutsu was casted on him and then he jumped off the cliff." But then Sasuke flipped the table angrily, which startled the Hyuga heiress as his Sharingan eyes began to appear. "Well, this time I want you to tell me from the beginning of what they said word for word, getting face to face with her, and do not lie to me," as his aura radiated malicious intent. "Konoha, I'm back." Naruto cheered, food in hand. But taking a few steps in, something was definitely off, as paper was scattered everywhere with some furniture toppled over. Then, fearing the worst, the blonde Jinchuriki dropped what he had as he ran in, praying that this was all just a big mess. Then in the living room area he saw his pale friend, as she was not only slightly scratched up and bruised in some places, but also sitting silently in a chair, as she seemed to have been staring blankly at nothing. "Hinata-chan?" he asked cautiously, but received no answer as the Hyuga heiress continued to stare off blankly. Then, waving his hand in front of her and receiving no response, he then looked into her eyes, confirming what it was. "Genjutsu, so using the right seal, Kai," as Hinata then started to blink, returning back to normal. "Hinata-chan, are you okay? What did that jerk-off do to you?" "I'm fine," Hinata assured, brushing herself off. "He only roughed me up a bit before using his genjutsu, but we have to get to the Uchiha household now." Upon hearing that, "No, don't tell me," as Naruto's face widened at what was about to happen. "Sasuke-kun knows everything now and wants to stop his brother. He's about to cause a paradox." After witnessing his brother slaughter many of his kin, Sasuke quickly made his way in, wanting to stop his brother from killing his parents. "Don't do it," he thought desperately. You don't have to do this. None of this has to occur. Please stop. Just arriving to the door, he saw the outlines of his parents as Itachi stood right behind them, sword in hand. I see. So you joined their side, said Fugaku as he sat in a kneeling position right next to his wife. Father. Mother. As Itachi's eyes reflected how conflicted he was. We understand, Itachi, said Mikoto. Itachi then said, Fugaku, promise me that you will take care of Sasuke. I know, as tears began to stream down the sides of his face. Don't hesitate. It's the path you've chosen. However, our pain will only last for an instant, unlike yours. Although the way we think may be different. Know that your mother and I are proud of you. You are truly gentle. Mother. Father. I am so sorry, as he raised his sword ready to cut them down. Just as Sasuke was about to jump in to stop this, Naruto and Hinata teleported in, grabbing him, slapping his mouth shut as they struggled to pull him away. No. Sasuke muffled. Let go of me. I have to stop him. He doesn't have to do this. No one has to die. I'm sorry, Sasuke, as Naruto gave a pained look. We cannot interfere. No matter what, as he continued to pull him away. From a distance, they saw from their outlines as Itachi had done the sorrowful deed. Just on time, a 7-year-old Sasuke appeared as he saw his brother standing over his parents' corpses. As time proceeded as it did, as Sasuke for the first time activated his Sharingan to attack him in rage, only to fail and forget much of what happened due to trauma. With nothing more to see, Naruto activated his watch, returning them back. Konoha, Naruto's present time, reappearing from a ball of light, Sasuke collapsed to the ground, hyperventilating as he soon vomited on the ground at the intensity of what he had learned. Sasuke-kun, said Hinata sympathetically. Sasuke. As Naruto had nothing he could say, as there really wasn't anything that could make this better. I mean, they just uncovered a dark truth about Konoha, something that they should have left well enough alone. But even worse, it must have been terrible for Sasuke in not only knowing his clan were about to commit treason against the village, but his brother committing this genocidal act and taking the blame just to save his life. But seeing a kid on the ground and identifying him as a Uchiha, it attracted the attention of some of the surrounding leaf ninjas. Hey kid, you alright? As one of them placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. Sasuke's breathing became shallower as he started to shiver. But then slowly, it's your fault. It was your entire fault. All of it, as tears started to stream down of the sides of his cheeks. As his Sharingan eyes began to appear, memories of his slaughtered kin flowed through his mind and how his brother was coerced into doing it all. As this sickening feeling welled up in his stomach, a third Tomo began to develop in his eyes. As soon they started to reconfigure, taking on a new shape as his Mangekyo started to awaken. What? I didn't catch that. Is there something wrong, kid? But was soon met with a back fist to the face as it forced the man to land flat on his back, semi-conscious. It's your fault. All of it. Sasuke raged as he went on an all-out brawl with the Konoha ninjas without restraint, as he didn't care anymore. Screw discipline, screw honor, screw pride, vengeance was all he could think about as someone needed to pay for what happened. His malice was more than apparent, as his very image was that of a raging dragon-like beast, as the young Uchiha blasted fire as he struggled while Konoha ninjas attempted to get him under control. As this happened, Naruto and Hinata couldn't say or do anything, as they could only watch as this happened. Konoha, the next day, after the incident, Sasuke was put under house arrest for observation, as he seemed to have been suffering from some extreme mental distress, as there was no telling when he would get out or if ever. Even Naruto and Hinata were affected, as this was just too heavy for them, as they felt that they needed to share this with someone. However, regardless if they had proof or not, it was something that needed to stay buried no matter what. It was a truth far too horrible for anyone to know. Their teammates and friends even noticed the change in demeanor amongst the three. Although they tried to ask, none of the answers were favorable. Sasuke was off limits until further notice. Naruto would always wave it off as nothing. Hinata would give a polite bow saying that it was nothing as well. It was apparent to their eyes that whatever it was eating them up inside. Sitting in his house along with Hinata, the pair soon heard a knock at the door. Answering it, they were surprised to who it was. "Ji-san. What are you doing here? May I enter?" Hiruzen asked as he had an air of seriousness on him. Giving a nod, the former Hokage walked in taking a seat as he invited the pair to sit with him. Before taking her seat, Hinata served some tea as in some way knew what he wanted to talk about. As Hiruzen sipped his tea, he set it aside as he looked to the two children. "Naruto. You traveled back, didn't you? You traveled back with Sasuke to see what happened 7 years ago." Seeing the children look away at this, it was enough of an answer for him as he then looked away in guilt for the part he played in that tragedy and not doing enough to avert it. "Hiruzen-sama. How could you have allowed something like this happen?" "There had to have been another way," said Hinata. "Ji-san, please tell us that you had no part in it," said Naruto somewhat as a plea. The old Sarutobi gave a heavy sigh to this as he took a sip of tea. "No, I had no part in what happened. Yet I share equal fault for it." Then gritting his teeth, Naruto stood up in anger. It was that bastard Danzo. He pushed Itachi into making this decision. It's his fault this all happened. "I understand your anger, Naruto," as Hiruzen waved to him to calm down and retake his seat. "I did not know at the time of their secret meeting. But I would have reprimanded him for his actions otherwise. But it still isn't enough," as Naruto slammed his fist on the table. "I know Mom got him locked away in jail and sealed away his ninja abilities, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough. He caused this suffering to occur. He needs to suffer more for what he's done." Hinata could only look away at this. Although she didn't want to admit it, what Danzo had done was unforgivable as he forced Itachi to choose between the village or his family. Just for him to be sitting idly in a prison cell angered her as well as his punishment just felt too light for his crimes. In a way Hiruzen could relate to them as it did feel like Danzo was getting off with a slap on the hand. But being of an older generation, he needed to guide the young of a better path in life. "Naruto. Hinata. You can't go through life thinking like that as we are people living in a time where we should be able to talk to each other and understand one another. If we were to use violence to solve our problems or discomforts, we'd only be satisfying our own misguided sense of self-righteousness and just be doing what we accuse Danzo of." The pair could only nod to this as they now felt kind of despicable for how they felt just a moment ago. Take it from an old man who has seen too much meaningless bloodshed in his lifetime, peace cannot be attained by force but through understanding. That is the true path to tranquility, as Hiruzen gave a warm smile as he patted both Naruto and Hinata on the head. "Do you understand now?" "Yes, Ji-san, I understand," as Naruto gave a fond smile. "Thank you for explaining it to us," then said Hinata. After a short conversation over the matter, "Ji-san, what's going to happen to Sasuke? Now that he knows the truth?" "Only time will tell." Konoha, prison ward. 1 week later, late evening, Orochimaru sitting in his cell sat chained to the ground and chakra drained. However, the chains in themselves were rather unnecessary. After his encounter with the Hokages, every bone in his body was fractured beyond repair with every tendon and ligament torn to bits, making even the minuscule amount of movement painful. So even if he did have chakra to spare, his fingers were too far gone to mold any technique to fix himself. However, he was not beyond help as he was still connected to the outside world via Kabuto impersonating the guard stationed to watch his cell. However, even the treacherous Leaf Ninja had to take his time to heal him or otherwise alarm the other guards and warden of what's really been going on and have pretty much the entire Konoha military crashing down on them. Although he's been well informed about the works of what's been going on in the village, on this day outside his cell was something he was not expecting. Audible for all to hear, Screams could be heard as the sounds of men and women screaming at the top of their lungs in pain before withering out to nothing echoed throughout the prison. Just listening, it wasn't too hard to pinpoint where this was happening as slowly the perpetrator who was causing this was getting closer to the snake Sannin cell. Finally reaching the steel-reinforced door, it was then popped open revealing a boy Orochimaru was not expecting to see yet rather amused with his presence. A visit from the prodigy himself, giving a slight chuckle. What does Sasuke Uchiha want with me? As if answering, Sasuke's Sharingan emerged as his Mangekyo then appeared. The snake Sannin gave a surprised look as he looked into the boy's eyes. Being well aware of how the Mangekyo state in achieved, Orochimaru gave some thought to what had happened. Knowing of the news of Sasuke's assault on several Konoha ninjas and then sudden illness, it all became too clear to him what this all meant. Ah, I see, as he gave a snake-like smile. I want to destroy Konoha. This village has taken everything from me, as his tone became heavy. I want to burn this place to the ground. I see, Orochimaru grinned. And what will you do in order to destroy this village? Anything. Anything I ask of you to accomplish this goal. Sasuke's eyes narrowed at this. Anything. Orochimaru's grin widened even more as soon Kabuto emerged from the shadows. Prepare the ritual. That's strange, said a ninja on guard duty. Where is everyone? Where are the current guards? Probably slacking off, said another guard with much irritation. Looks like we'll have to take their shift for now. Both walking into the prison ward, bewilderment took hold before confusion settled in which then quickly followed to chill creeping terror. Looking around the prison, where did all the prisoners go, as each cell around them was empty and abandoned with each of their doors wide open. We have to report this immediately. Unknown to them lurking within the shadows, 2 of the sound inmates were quick to take down the guards before they even had the chance to scream for help. Orochimaru chuckled as he along with several of the other former inmates followed right behind him. And here we go. Quietly exiting the ward and filtering out to the village, the sound ninjas took down any active guards on duty for when the time came they could either make their escape or generate maximum damage to Konoha. But after a certain passage of time and many downed guards, one leaf ninja steadily began to crawl away after a ruthless fight but not before getting noticed as the sound ninjas began approaching with a sadistic smile plastered across their face. Kicking the guard over, is there something amusing about your death, seeing as the leaf ninja had a small smile on his face. Yeah. None of you are going to be leaving so easily. Taking this threat in, the sound nins looked about seeing several explosive tags lit and primed to explode at any second. As the explosives then ignited as now all of Konoha had awakened and was ready to attack. Nara residents, what the hell was that noise? Yawned Shikamaru seeming somewhat annoyed before. Flopping back down on the bed. Whatever, someone else can handle it. Get up, as Yoshino barged into her son's room. There's trouble. What? As Shikamaru slowly started getting up again rubbing his eyes. It means we've got a job to do, she barked. Shikaku. We've got to go, as she soon ran off fully geared. Yes dear, Shikaku yawned also fully geared walking by his son's room. Akimichi residents, stay here, said Choza. I'm going out to see what I can do. Be careful honey, said his wife with concern. Dad, what about me? Asked Chuji. I can help too. Choza gave a hard look to this, alright, just don't leave my side. Yamanaka residents, I'm going out, looks like trouble is afoot, said Inoichi. Watch the flower shop while I'm gone. Understood, his wife replied. I'll go to see if everything is okay elsewhere, Ino responded as she and her father soon proceeded out. Aburame residents without so much as a word, the Aburame clan was all on the same page of what was going on and what they were going to do. So setting out, the bug ninjas were now going to battle. In Izuka residence the many dogs howled as they could sense what was going on, as many unfriendly scents got them agitated and growling for blood as they were waiting for their owner's signal to go. "Such a foul smell that surrounds us," said Tsum. "You kids ready?" To which Hana and Kiba gave a nod too. "Good, let's go hunting." "Haruno residence, I can go too," Sakura argued. "I'm a chunin just like you. I can protect the village as well." Kizashi and Mabuki were uncertain of how to respond. It was true that their only daughter was a chunin, meaning that she was more than qualified to fight with the other adults and experienced ninjas. However, she was still a kid in their eyes, still yet to understand what real combat really meant. But looking at their daughter now, they couldn't help but feel in a way proud of how far she's come. Starting at the academy, Sakura lacked the attention to be a real ninja, as most of the time all she could talk about was Sasuke. Now, their little girl was a chunin, as they could see the fiery determination burning in her eyes, wanting to be more than what she is now. "I'm going whether you like it or not," said Sakura adamantly. Both parents sighed a bit to this. "Alright, just don't push too hard." Hyuga residence. Almost instantly every Hyuga was fully geared and ready to go to war. "All of you," Hayashi commanded, "stay in the residential area and protect the citizens. The rest of us will lead the attack against the enemy. Follow my lead and we will succeed." "Yes," his clansmen cheered before moving out. Hanabi went over her inventory, double-checking what she found necessary to take with her. Fully satisfied, she was then about to follow her kin out the door, only to be stopped as her elder sister pulled her back. "What do you think you're doing?" "Stay in the residential area," said Hinata with concern. "The front lines are too dangerous for you. Don't treat me like a child," as the young Hyuga swatted her hand away. "I'm a fully fledged ninja like the rest of you. I'm more than capable of watching out for myself." Hinata felt a bit irked at how headstrong her little sister could be. Usually she would indulge her. However, this was not the time for one's ego to be blinding anyone of the situation. The enemy they were facing will kill anything on sight. She did not want to put her little sister in front of that. "But if anything, stay behind in the residential area, as you'll be of better help here," trying to compromise with her. "But just leave it be," then interjected Niji. "It is my duty to protect you and Hinata-sama. But I need to also focus on fighting the enemy. So please do as your sister has asked of you." Hanabi then gave a deep pout, stopping her foot as she settled down a moment later. "Fine," as she went with the other party. "Thank you," Hinata mouthed to her cousin, to which he gave a nod too, as they too then went to meet the enemy head-on. "Namikaze residence, what the hell is going on?" exclaimed Naruto as he was still jumping in his pants trying to get them on. "Did another war just get started while I was asleep?" Finally getting his cloths on and retrieving his already prepared equipment for the next day, he spotted his watch on the table as he picked it up. "Okay, let's take a look of what's going on." The blonde Jinchuriki then teleported to the very top of the Hokage's monument to get an eagle-eye view of the situation going on in the village. Upon rematerialization, Naruto couldn't even fathom what the hell just happened. Parts of the village were on fire, as the blaze was so bright that it could have very well been day. Just from a simple look, it was apparent that the enemy attacking them at the moment was now the freed Sound and Sand ninjas. As far as the battle was concerned, it was a stalemate. But it was clear that the more time passed, Konoha would eventually overwhelm the opposition when their forces got completely mobilized. It was just a matter now that they hold the line and not allow them to get the push against them. "But there is just so much going on," said Naruto. "Who can use the most help?" From his point of view, everyone could have used a little help. Although he was trying to be pragmatic, he wanted to go to his friends to make sure that they were all okay, especially a certain Hyuga. Just deciding where to go, a giant snake summon caught his attention as it started wreaking havoc wherever it slithered. But what truly got his attention was who was commanding it. "It can't be. Get back. We need more reinforcement here." Focus your jutsu on that snake. But it was too much for the Konoha ninjas as a simple swing of its tail blew them all back, punching a hole within their line. The sound ninjas found a good opportunity to push back. Ku, Orochimaru chuckled. Everything is going according to plan. Just blinking for a moment, the snake Sannin saw as a certain blonde-haired brat had appeared in front of his snake. Just seeing him placing his hand on the snake's scaly hide, he immediately jumped off. As soon the entire snake disappeared to God knows where. Landing on the ground, he came face to face with Konoha's Jinchuriki. Ku, came to die with your village. No, I came to stop you, as Naruto gave a menacing glare. Just looking at the man in front of him, he couldn't believe how he was up and about, as he was supposed to be beyond the point of healing with how badly he was beaten by the Hokages. But I can fix that. Then let's see what you can do, as the snake Sannin soon began to run away. Get back here, as Naruto began the chase. Konoha, stop standing around and fight, screamed a sound ninja before running off to battle. Amongst the former inmates, a good deal of sand ninjas was conflicted about what they should be doing. Honestly, there was no need for them to fight. Although they were prisoners of Konoha, their original objective had already been achieved, as Suna was willingly getting what it needed from Konoha through the negotiations. Amongst this group was none other than the Sand siblings. What should we do? Asked Kankuro. We should escape while we can. Konoha wasn't ever going to release us anyways. Let's just get out of here. Temari, said Gaara, as then everyone looked to her for guidance, being that she was the eldest child of their recently deceased Kazekage, making her the temporary de facto leader of their group. Looking carefully out to the ruins Konoha was slowly becoming, she decided. Konoha with the giant snake's brief but brutal rampage in penetrating the defenses, the enemy ninjas took advantage with a full-on attack. Yet it was not the Chunin or the Jonin that were the biggest problem. It was the thing leading the charge. What the hell is that? As some leaf ninjas couldn't even believe what they were seeing, as some couldn't even stomach the sight of what this thing was. Leading the charge was a giant grotesque blob of flesh with its limbs positioned in random orientations as it held multiple faces. But contrary to its appearance, it was powerful beyond belief, as it took down almost everyone that went against it, as its abilities were phenomenal, having incredible strength, speed, regeneration, and a bountiful number of diverse jutsu at its disposal. Analyzing this creature, they realized exactly what it was, as looking at its many faces it was the culmination of the Sound Four fused into one monstrous form. Seems to be holding together, as Kabuto watched his Frankenstein from afar with much interest. By completely destabilizing Sakan and Yukon abilities, they've completely merged with the other 3. Although I don't know how long this will last, as their healing ability is the only thing keeping them alive. But no matter, this is the only use they have left. I better make my exit now, as Kabuto soon body flicked away. Konoha, outskirts, what is going on? Thought Naruto as he continued to chase after Orochimaru. Something doesn't seem right. Why is he running? What does he hope to achieve from this? I've seen how fast this geezer is, so why hasn't he outrun me yet? Or is it he can't? There was so much he was pondering about concerning the ifs and buts of the situation. However, none of that mattered at the moment. I'm a Chunin now. It's my duty to bring this snake bastard back in. Finally reaching a large clearing, Orochimaru stopped as he stood on top of the large river before turning back with his arms crossed, waiting for the young blonde to emerge. Jumping out from the clearing, Naruto landed on the river as he stood before the snake Sannin. Studying his posture, looks like he wants to fight now, as he then looked around the environment. All types of terrain around could be either of our advantages. Got to fight this smart. I'm going against someone of Obasan's and Ero-Sanin's level. Ku, I don't know whether it's stupidity or courage that you chose to face me alone, boy. But either way, you'll soon realize the folly of your mistake. I'm not afraid of you, Naruto gritted. So you can take that Sannin status and shove it, as instantly using Hiraishin, he appeared point-blank to his opponent, creating 3 other bunshins as they started to attack the snake man from top to bottom, not giving him a chance to counter. Orochimaru's body flickered out of the ambush only for the 4 Narutos to follow him almost instantly with a Hiroshin. "Looks like you've gotten a lot better since I last saw you. You haven't seen anything yet," as Naruto started trading shots with his opponent. But after a short exchange with a few punches, kicks, and blocks and landing a few clean hits on the snake trader, something doesn't seem right. This seems too easy. Continuing the fight as it was, Orochimaru's skills were rather apparent with how expertly he was handling himself. Though his father's training made him confident enough to hold his own against the Sannin, he shouldn't have been getting so many clean hits in. Continuing it as it was, it became obvious to why this seemed easy. If Orochimaru was truly healed, he should have been much stronger and faster than him. But judging by his current levels, they were more or less physically even. But why? Taking another gut-wrenching shot causing Orochimaru to choke on his own spit, his body flickered out as Naruto then paused momentarily as his 3 bunshins dispersed. "Heh, I might have underestimated you a little. But now you'll come to regret in opposing me," as his body then exploded into smoke. Naruto's eyes widened slightly at this. He was holding a henge. What is the meaning of this? As the smoke began to clear, horror could not describe who stood in front of him now. "Sasuke? What's going on? Why are you impersonating that snake bastard?" he then exclaimed. "Ku, Orochimaru smirked. "Sasuke is no longer here as only I remain." "What the hell are you talking about?" yelled Naruto in confusion. "I don't understand." "What's not to understand?" Overwhelmed with anger and grief, he wanted to destroy Konoha for what it did to his clan, and so he came to me knowing I could accomplish his wish. However, my body was broken beyond repair, so in payment for destroying the village I asked for his body, to which he wholeheartedly agreed. Orochimaru sneered, not taking any more of this. Naruto flashed right in, throwing a punch to his face only for the snake to catch it with a sickeningly satisfied smirk on his face. That jerk would not be so weak to do such a thing like that. "I don't care how you did this. Give him back his body right now. Then let's see you make me." Slightly wrestling with him, Naruto's narrowed into a glare as his anger began to rise. "You had just made a serious mistake, throwing another punch only for it to be caught as well." "Not as serious as yours, I fear," smirked Orochimaru as he activated his Sharingan eyes. "Konoha, military compound. Hell of a way to kick off my career as Hokage," said Jiraiya as he fought alongside his comrades trying to subdue the enemy attackers. "It could be worse," said Kakashi. Perhaps, as Asuma jumped back to back with him. "Can't really see much optimism in any of this," as Jiraiya summoned some toads to help. "I think we should count our situation fortunate," as Kurenai casted a genjutsu. "Huh? And why is that?" "It seems that the Suna ninjas are now fighting with us," then answered Anko. "Konoha, marketplace, aren't you glad I came?" asked Temari, confidently stabbing her fan on the ground, apparently trying to show off to a certain Nara. "Tisk, troublesome woman," said Shikamaru with some endearment. "So what brings you here? What does it look like?" "We're earning ourselves a pardon. So just set them up and I'll knock them down," as she expanded her fan. Elsewhere, the sand ninjas began setting themselves up, making the difference as the sound ninjas were forced back onto the defensive. "Weren't we allies? Why are you fighting us?" asked a sound ninja angrily. "Just how it happens," said Kankuro as Gaara began raising the sand, to which Kiba, Lee, Shino, and several other leaf ninjas jumped onto as they surfed on the sand, getting ready for their massive counter. Konoha, residential area. Tenten kneeled on the ground holding her head in agony as Neji tried to maintain his composure, only for it to be obvious on his face of how much pain he was in before falling to his knees as well, gripping the ground just trying not to fall. "Neji Nizan!" yelled Hinata as she was about to run to him. "Don't," as Ino grabbed her wrist, pulling her back. That thing is using a sound genjutsu and the only thing that's keeping us from falling into it is Sakura's chakra tuner. I'm sorry, Sakura gritted. My tuner is keeping us from being infected by that monster's genjutsu, but this is as large as I can extend the field. If we go, we have to go together. Hinata nodded as she looked to her downed cousin, his teammate, and several others. Recalling things, that monster crushed its way here, plowing through several areas by effectively using its constantly shifting abilities to its advantage. Tried as they might, every leaf and sand ninja were instantly defeated upon facing it. But now on the borderline entering the residential district, this was where they needed to hold the line and not allow it any further entry. Just beyond them were normal people and other non-combatants, and more importantly to Hinata, her little sister. If this abomination got past them, it was going to be a slaughter that they could not allow. But fortunately its sound genjutsu also affected its allies. So this just left them against this monster. Can't you use your mind transfer on it? Asked Sakura. Ino instantly shivered at the idea. I can't even if I try. That thing's mind is chaotic. It immediately kicked me out the moment we connected. But more so, as hugged herself, its body was in so much pain. I can't even comprehend how such a thing could still be alive. Then what are we supposed to do? Sakura then asked in slight panic. Everyone's been taken out. With just the three of us, what can we possibly do against that? Please stay calm, Sakura-san, said Hinata as she stood before both of the girls back face to them. We have to stop it from getting any further. I know, but we are nowhere near prepared to take on something like that. The Hyuga heiress then shook her head to this. That's not entirely correct, Sakura-san, because I believe we have everything we need right here between the three of us. You have a plan? Hinata nodded to this. However, she couldn't help but be hesitant. Although no words were exchanged, it was there is a subtle way. They were all scared to death. This creature took down everyone that went against it. To those unfortunate, killed. This thing even took down a few jonin, as they themselves at best were chunin, which left the question, what chance in hell did they have in winning, let alone surviving this? But just thinking how bleak this looked, an image of Naruto crossed her mind as her face hardened in resolve. Naruto-kun. You taught me to be brave, as she stepped in a stance. I will not allow this monster to pass. So what did you have in mind? Asked Ino. We know that this monster can only use its abilities one at a time. I need you to tell me which ability it shifts to so we can adapt accordingly. Sakura-san will provide support and continue negating the sound genjutsu while I will deal with it directly. That's too reckless, Hinata, then argued Sakura. Even Niji's gentle fist couldn't hurt it, as it would either create that web armor or heal almost immediately after taking damage. I'm not going to use my gentle fist, as chakra glowed on her fingertips. I'm going to use this style instead. Watching her stance, Ino and Sakura recognized it to be the style she used against Choji in the tournament. The lock fist, recalling her practicing it during the week, but isn't that a defensive art? How is it going to help us now? It'll be enough, as Hinata activated her Byakugan. I know we can do this. We just have to try. The two girls gave a nod as they felt confidence from her words. Alright, we'll follow your lead. We're set to go. On that mark, the three girls charged ahead against the abomination as the creature gave out a howling roar, doing the same. I just need to get a feeling of which ability it's going to shift to, as Ino focused. Confronting it thus far, she knew that a certain presence was tagged to certain abilities. All she needed to do was know which presence showed up so that they could give the proper response. Instantly recognizing the feeling, the spider, as the monster shot out webs from its hands and mouths, to which the girls jumped away from as they continued their dash forward. Flute, as then Sakura responded, holding up her chakra tuner, making the sound genjutsu inert to herself and her friends, as with her other hand threw 3 shurikens at their opponent. As the metal stars flew, they collided with the monster's skin before bouncing off harmlessly. It's the giant. Hinata then ran in, dodging an incoming punch as the pale girl allowed the attack to go right above her shoulder. Placing her fingers on both sides of its biceps, she gave a twisting motion as a spiral seal formed. Leaning forward, she rear-kicked its arm up as the monster stammered back. Flinching, the abomination tried and failed to move its arm as it was stuck in place where Hinata kicked it. It definitely doesn't have any defense against this, Hinata smiled confidently. Lock Fist was a combination of her developing style and the Uzumaki Fuinjutsu. Due to her natural chakra flexibility and heritage in manipulating tenketsu, this style did not only allow her to twist her opponent's chakra channels out of place but also shut down the muscle's electrical signal, effectively killing motor function. Unlike the gentle fist, which temporarily paralyzes and damages, her style passively locks down her opponent and would not ever release unless she allowed it. The twins. Ino then shouted as the monster's body started to become slimier in appearance. Spotting this, the three girls knew if it touched them it was an immediate death sentence, as their bodies would be absorbed and reduced to nothing. So distance was what they needed now. As the trio threw explosive tags, to which the monster immediately responded by shifting abilities, creating a web-like armor. "Looks like we got a chance now," said Ino. "We can do it," said Sakura. "We will protect the people." "Get ready, then," said Hinata. "Here it comes again." Konoha, outskirts, ah. Naruto gaped, flying back a few feet, skipping along the river as he then landed on the ground along the shore. Just trying to stand, he fell back down, holding his stomach, shivering, just trying to get back on his feet. Damn, as his eyes wavered, struggling to keep them open as bruises were apparent all over his face and parts of his body. "Coo coo coo," Orochimaru chuckled, crossing his arms, smiling smugly while still standing on the river. How nostalgic, fighting like a young man with nothing held back, as then Naruto squeezed his watch, teleporting from behind only to get elbowed, causing him to fall back while holding his face, admirable but mistaken. Naruto cringed at the painful shot he took, but getting back up he steadied himself, gritting his teeth at how impossible this fight just became. Those eyes really can see everything I'm doing. I've done everything I could and he's still kicking my ass around. But closing his eyes for a moment, he moved his hands, creating a cross seal. I didn't want it to come to this. But I guess I don't have a choice anymore. I'm going to have to do this. The very hard way, as then an army of bunshins appeared as they all ran into flanking position. "Coo coo coo, more practice I see," as Orochimaru stepped back into his fighting stance. "No matter, just more opportunities to get more accustomed to my new body," he chuckled as he summoned out his Kusanagi, easily spotting and slaying every clone that jumped at him. After slaying 13 of them, he must be really panicked if he's now fighting no better than a beginner. But I do not feel him to be this careless. What is he up to? Finishing off the last clone, he saw the original wearing a rather confident smile. "Has the thought of death amused you, brat?" "No, it's me kicking your ass," Naruto exclaimed, now racing in. "Fool," as Orochimaru followed his movements with ease, watching the path of his intentions as he maneuvered himself to counter accordingly. "Thought so," as Naruto predicted his opponent's overconfidence. "You're going to pay for that." The mass bunshins earlier were just a distraction while he sent 3 other bunshins out into the forest to hide while collecting senjutsu. This was where he planned to make his comeback. So releasing one of his clones, the coloration around his eyes changed as the pupils became toad-like, as now he was in sage mode. "Let's see you stop this one." Noticing his different facial features, the snake Sannin instantly knew what it was. Impossible. He can perform senjutsu. Although he parried the punch away, he knew what was about to come next, as an invisible force struck him in the face like a secondary punch, causing him to fly back and crash into a rocky hillside. Reeling from the damage, Orochimaru swiped his cheek with his forearm as he was now growing irritated with the blonde Jinchuriki. "I was hoping that I wouldn't have to explain to Sasuke later about why his pretty boy face was broken in," said Naruto as he cracked his knuckles. But I'll be kicking your ass out of him soon enough, as I'll then kick his ass for being an idiot. Holding his serious face for a moment, Orochimaru soon returned to his arrogant smile. I'll admit that I might have underestimated you a bit. I definitely see your parents in you, especially your mother's rude mouth. But you are still far too early to be taking on someone like me. We'll see about that, as Naruto Hiraition in throwing a punch, hitting and destroying the rocks as Orochimaru ducked out of the way before jumping back, making a tactical retreat. You're not getting away, as he continued to teleport in, throwing attacks only for the snake to then slip away, just avoiding his senjutsu as well. Countering, Orochimaru swung his blade as Naruto too dodged easily due to his improved senses from senjutsu. Continuing this exchange a good deal of time, the Sannin had enough of this toying around as his eyes' Tomo configuration shifted to its Mangekyo state. Body flickering away, he appeared at the top of the cliff as Naruto continued to hold his guard while standing on the river. Are you running away? But then stopped as Naruto went silent as alarms began ringing in his head like clanging bells. What? Looking to his opponent, his right eye closed as he stared down to him with his left eye as blood began to leak from it. I don't get it, what's the danger? Right on cue, black flames erupted onto his left arm, which took him by surprise. I'm on fire, as then ran in a quick circle in panic. Doing the next best thing, he released his chakra repulsion, dropping into river, hoping to choke the fire out. However, why won't it go out, still waving his arm in futile effort. So having no choice, he ripped off his jacket, trying to distance himself from it as soon as favorite attire sunk down towards the dark depths as the rest of it was caught ablaze. Looking up to the surface, his sage senses were still ringing in his head. I never felt something so hot against me. What the hell was that? He just looked at me, then suddenly I was on fire, as he held his left arm. You really are a stupid brat, but I guess I can't fault you on something you didn't know. Kyuubi. Naruto then thought. Listen up, that's the Sharingan's next evolution, known as the Mangekyo state. What you just experienced was the Uchiha technique Amaterasu, as all they need to do is look at you and you'll catch on fire. Seriously? Then what am I supposed to do against that? Don't expect me to figure out everything for you, fool, the Kyuubi then said in a kind of apprehensive tone. But be careful of the other technique, Tsukiyomi. If he looks into your eyes, consider yourself a goner. Great, as Naruto then felt weaker as his sage mode came to an end with the last of his clones. Although seconds passed, it felt like an eternity, as the passage of time that took place in the soul was not relative to that of the physical world. For this, it gave Kurama time to think. It was more than clear to him that his Jinchuriki was no match, as Orochimaru was far too skilled. Coupled with that brat of an Uchiha, loss was almost a certainty. However, he could not allow his host to die, as he was still just getting to really know him. If he was truly the one Gramps told them about, he nor would the other Bijus could ever forgive him for letting him die. So without a second thought, his choice was made. Of course he wasn't going to share his chakra with him, as they were nowhere near that kind of friendly relationship. But there was something he could do. Listen, I can help you deal with Tsukiyomi, as any genjutsu used will not be an issue for you, but you'll have to figure out something against Amaterasu. Well, thanks and all, but I'm too exhausted right now and my advantage is gone. Any clones I do create to gather more senjutsu will immediately be fried the moment I exit. The demon fox had thought carefully about this as well. So taking a particular sitting stance in his cage, leave the gathering to me, as the fox closed his eyes. Can you really gather it for me, as he worried that if the fox messed up he'd become a statue. I got the feeling for it, and I generally know everything you do too, idiot. Naruto blinked at this for a moment as a smirk slowly started to form. Thank you for your help. Just know, as the Kyuubi growled, you better not lose to that Uchiha, as that is something I will not accept, as then Naruto re-emerged from the river ready for another round. Konoha, damn, said Ino. I can't go any longer. I'm sorry, Sakura apologized as she dropped her chakra tuner. I don't have anything left to spare, as she fell to her knees. Hinata cringed as she could feel the strain on her body as well. Fighting this long, this monster was just too strong. Although they did well in holding it off for as long as they did, ultimately it won by attrition as well as growing a few more limbs. Even if she had the energy left to deal with most of its abilities, without Sakura, Genjutsu would be their downfall. My God, as Ino's eyes widened slightly. I can sense it. All four of their presence has appeared at once. We can't win this anymore. No, biting her lip bitterly, we couldn't stop it. Niji-Nizan. Hanabi-chan. Father. Naruto-kun. I'm sorry, falling to her knees waiting for the inevitable to occur. Being the current monster's target, the creature's arms began to stretch out as its slimy flesh surrounded the three girls as death was now knocking at their door. Not even having the ability to escape due to the sound genjutsu immobilizing them, all they could do was wait to die. That would have been the case if not for a certain medic ninja jumping from a high-off building, landing in between them, scooping them all up and moving them out to safety. Placing the three girls aside, the old medic turned about as she wore somewhat of a proud smile looking out to the enemy. Looking up from their sitting position, the three girls were not only thankful for the save but awed at who it was. Tsunade-sama. You girls did a good job in holding this monster off. Everyone else is about finished where they are, as that just leaves this thing, cracking her knuckles. Tsunade-sama. Just sit there and relax, continued Tsunade. Let the adults handle this now. The monster gave a bone-chilling roar as it activated several jutsu simultaneously. It created Kidamaru's webbing and Taiyuya's flute genjutsu as it ran in using Sakon's incredible speed. Curiously, the slug Sannin didn't seem the least bit affected by the music as the webbing wrapped around one of her hands. Interesting, actual organic webbing infused with chakra. Really sturdy indeed, to which with a yank the monster was launched from where it was standing, flying in head first. Acting instantly on preservation, it created a web-like armor to protect itself. Although as strong as steel and reinforced with chakra, it was no match for the legendary punch of the first Hokage's granddaughter, shattering it to bits, sending the creature flying, only for Tsunade to pull it back, whipping it up and slamming it to the ground. Ino, Sakura, and Hinata were stunned at the incredible turnaround at how sided this match seemed now. Although this abomination was the culmination of the Sound Four and their abilities, the slug Sannin was just more monstrously stronger by comparison, as even now she was effortlessly beating the creature into the ground and overwhelming whatever it threw at her. Although brutal, she carried a kind of grace in the way she fought. It was now they truly understood why Tenten idolized her. She was truly the strongest kunoichi in the world. The monster, now lying on the ground bleeding and trying to heal itself, moaned as it attempted to crawl away. I don't generally make it a point to pick on things weaker than me, as Tsunade walked slowly to it. However, you've hurt and killed too many in this village, and for that I will not forgive you. With a glow of her fist, an intense amount of chakra began to form and condense into it as she was ready to pulverize her target out of existence. Seeing how close the Sannin was, the monster in one last-ditch effort used the twins' abilities as it attempted to assimilate her. Tsunade-sama, the girls called in concern in seeing her caught. You won't be able to absorb me. Like that, as a chakra-like barrier coated her, preventing physical contact. Feeling her chakra being drained from the contact, you really need to know when to give up. Charging just the amount of power she wanted, she threw her punch. Making contact, the creature was instantly annihilated, reducing it to mush as whatever was left of it was what was on the ground and splattered onto the walls. With that finish, her index finger lit up with green chakra as she placed it to her ears, restoring her sense of hearing. And that will be that. Konoha, outskirts, hold still you little brat, as Orochimaru tried to focus Amaterasu, only for Naruto to teleport away in the next instant. What wrong, worm sage? Naruto taunted as he continued to teleport randomly around the area. Having trouble keeping an eye on the prize? If there was anything Naruto was exceedingly good at, it was pissing people off. Although childish, it was effective in enraging his opponent, making it difficult to focus his ocular attack. Noticing during the skirmish the physical strain just to use it, then he needed to do was wait him out, as that was the path to victory. Annoying little pest. Orochimaru shouted, only to lose sight of him again. What is going on? Where did all this power come from? He was well aware of the flaws behind senjutsu, as one needed to be perfectly still to gather energy. Yet their battle has lasted so long and he wasn't perceivably doing anything like his old teammate for someone to gather energy for him. Even more infuriating was that his Tsukiyomi didn't even work. Adding all these facts together, that damn fox is the only way this can be happening, but it can't be. There is no conceivable way that Brat could have tamed the Kyuubi. That beast would never allow any human to control it. Continuing the fight with the fourth's kid, his anger was becoming overwhelming as the pain in his eyes started to become intolerable, as he had no choice now but to close his eyes while slapping his hands over them out of impulse to deal with the aching sensation. Now's my chance. Forgive me, Sasuke. Picking his location, he Hiraishin point blank as a Rasengan had already formed in his hand. Thrusting his arm, he intended to end this. Just a foot away from connecting, what the hell is that, as a black chakra-like skeleton arm materialized, catching his attack. Wrapping its bony fingers around his arm, it slammed him painfully into the ground, smashing him a few times before throwing him as he bounced a few times before coming to a grinding stop. Reeling from the damage, Naruto cringed, gritting his teeth as his eyes wavered. What the hell was that? Starting to slowly stand after the brutal assault which rattled his body badly. Unbelievable, as the Kyuubi was watching through Naruto's eyes. Amongst the Uchiha, achieving this technique is an extreme rarity, as I've only known a handful to possess it. What are you talking about? Is this some sort of other secret technique I should know about? It is the third technique granted by those eyes, known as Susanoo. It is truly a fearsome technique that generates a chakra avatar moved by the willpower of its user, capable of incredible destructive power. Even Hashirama had great trouble dealing with it during Madara's time. Nice history lesson, but how do I deal with it? The Kyuubi could only narrow his eyes at this. Survive, as that was the last thought he could say as Orochimaru was on the move again. Although his body was tattered, got to move. Need to get out of the way. Luckily his sage mode took the edge off his pain. But it didn't stop his body from creaking just from slight movements. Pushing what willpower he had, his concentrated his strength into his legs, attempting to jump out of the way. But just getting clear of Orochimaru, the skeleton arm was a different matter, as he couldn't escape it in time as it grabbed his left leg, pulling him back down, bashing him into the ground, sending shocks of pain through the young blonde. Then in the next instant, Naruto was picked up as he was thrown into the rocky cliff. Not letting up, the snake Sannin materialized more of Susanoo as the battle avatar readied its massive chakra fists as it began to pummel Naruto into the wall. The assault was beyond brutal, as anyone watching would have to look away at how sighted it became, as even now Naruto's eyes were glazed white as he was partly unconscious from the severe beating. Although it was overkill, Orochimaru didn't take any chances, as Senjutsu made him a tough little cockroach to squash. After an nth amount of hits, he backed off as his bloodied opponent, still indented into the rocks, slowly began to peel out, falling to the ground as a small puddle of blood formed under him. So painful, thought Naruto, just hanging by a thread, as he felt every bone in his body was broken, as worse off a few of his ribs were shattered and had stabbed into his lungs, making it difficult to breathe. Even if he somehow found the willpower to move, his muscles were torn to hell, as were his ligaments and tendons, as all he could do was lay there at Orochimaru's mercy. Although the fox's chakra could heal him, it was far too late to do anything now, as his enemy with one hand dragged him up by his shirt, just getting him on his knees. Why don't you just kill me? Naruto breathed out in pain. Because I still have some use for you, Orochimaru sneered. The Uchiha abilities take up a lot of chakra to use. So to compensate, my plan was to isolate you so that I can extract that little battery you have sealed up inside, eyeing the Uzumaki crest on Naruto's stomach. With that watch of yours coupled with this body, ultimate power will no longer be just a dream for me. Once I've burned Konoha to ashes and taken everything from you, it is then and only then that I will give you permission to die. Naruto gritted his teeth as tears started to form. This was beyond being defeated, as not only was his body broken but so was his spirit. In losing, he failed to protect the village, he failed to protect his friends, and more so he failed to save his Sasuke. Damn it. Let's get this over with, as Susanu's skeleton hand wrapped around Naruto, planning to squeeze him into unconsciousness. As the blonde Jinchuriki screamed out in pain, his skin started to turn black and feathery, as then he exploded into a murder of crows before the snake trader. What? He shrieked, looking to his now empty Susanu's hand as he turned quickly about to see where the blonde child went. However, he recognized the taste of that genjutsu, as there was only one man he knew who could do something like this and trick a Sharingan eye. Looking up to the cliff, he spotted him in a black cloak decorated with red clouds, as the said child was now laying next to him. What the hell is he doing here? Turning his head, Naruto looked up as he managed to choke out a slight scoff. Heh heh. Itachi. What are you doing here? Looking to his face briefly before turning back to Orochimaru. I came here to save my little brother. Flinching a bit in pain, Naruto's face contorted a bit to show a confused expression. How? Giving a heavy breath. Did you know to come here? Peering back to the blonde once more. Because you told me to be here 7 years ago.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.